Senate Agriculture Committee will come to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Chairman Hume.
Here.
Senator Brewer.
Here.
Senator Emmons. Here. Senator Hansen. Senator Smith. Mr. Chair, you have 3 members present in the quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Senator Brewer moves to adopt the minutes of the last meeting without objection. They are adopted, and Senator Emmons moves to excuse absent members without objection. They are excused. This meeting is simply a continuation of our meeting regarding the right to farm GAAMPs from last week. And I mentioned last week that we give priority to folks who were unable to testify simply because of timing. So I've got the top 4 cards, according to our clerk, are folks who were unable to testify simply because of timing. So we apologize for that. And first up is Lisa Barber, representing small farms in opposition. Lisa. Okay. Is there a Gail Philbin from the Sierra Club in opposition? A Gail Philbin. Belinda Fitzpatrick from Lansing. Belinda Fitzpatrick from Lansing. Is there a Lindy Hiller? A Lindy Hiller in opposition. We have a Cindy Dickerson, who was my constituent. I don't see her in the room. Mickey Martin from Williamstown Township in support. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. And good morning, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I am Mickey Martin, Supervisor for Williamstown Township in Ingham County, and I strongly support the changes to the site selection GAAMPs and for the new and expanding livestock facilities. And I support also the definition of residential and the addition of Category 4 site selection. Williamstown Township is a zoned community, and more specifically, the township has 16 zones. And each of these have many zones to accommodate many land uses. Zoning is valued for the quality of life and protection of living choices it affords residents by defining uses. Zoning classifications design the uses permitted by right or by special use in each district. This is invaluable to people when they are researching the area and when they want to live. For example, zones can define land as strictly as residential, commercial, agricultural, industrial, mobile home park, allowing residents to choose how near or how far they want to live from an industrial site, a convenience store, a gas station. Not everybody wants to live next door to a bump shop, as well as not everyone wants to live next door to a pig or a chicken. And the zoning protects these rights from people so they can know where they're going to move into and can understand what will maybe next door to them. You've heard that this change will eliminate livestock in all areas, and it won't. I personally live in a residential area, but in the defined uses, we allow livestock in the residential area that I live in. The residential areas that in my township that do not allow livestock are small 2 residential areas, single family, that are in subdivisions that are zoned for 1 acre or less. This is where the livestock is not permitted. And Williamstown Township promotes and supports agriculture. We have in our master plan our support of keeping the total northern half of the township as much in agriculture as possible, with the small portion in the lower part to be a development with subdivisions. We have a 425 agreement with the city of Williamston that would provide sewer and water so we can maintain and contain the high-density subdivisions in an area so they do not conflict with agriculture, because we want agriculture to continue, and we don't want to see any of it eliminated at this point, because big farms are, well, actually we haven't lost any farms in the recent years, but we want to promote our dairy farms that we have and keep them in the area. And as you know, if this category, when these categories were not defined, Category 4, anyone could move into a subdivision and put pigs, animals. We had 1.3 acre in a zoned R1S where there was no livestock allowed. They moved in, there was 75 animals on that property at one time. We have taken that to court. We won in court, but now it's in appeal. This change in the site selection GAAMPs will eliminate this conflict. It will help people understand that you don't get the right to farm protection automatically just by moving into any area. We never start up any commercial business in our then townships, in most townships, without them looking at the uses in the district. You can't put a gas station anywhere. It's a commercial business. And with farming, if they're going to have a commercial business, I believe it needs to adhere to the GAAMPs and the site selections. And the changes that they've made is going to reduce the conflict. I really support MDARD and all the research they've done with the site selection and the changes they've made and all the work that they've put in on it. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Senator Evans.
Oh, I'm sorry, you must have questions. I hear I'm going to get up and go.
You have to start the day out right here.
Okay.
Thanks for being here. Just, what's the population in your township?
A little over 5,000.
Do you, clearly you have a process in place for planned growth, I guess you could say, or how it works. Do you get a lot of citizen input? Do they participate in some of this planning? Are they aware and active?
We have some that are aware. Obviously, not everyone's aware and active, but how the process works is we review our master plan every 5 years, and in that review, it's where we put the 20 years future of our township, and we have our zoning follow that master plan. And during that time, every 5 years, we publish on our website. I put it out in our emails. I have a weekly email that I send out to any resident that wants to sign up, and I make them aware of this. We hold town meetings, we hold public hearings, we put the proposed entire master plan on our website so it's easily accessible. We have our zoning ordinance on our website so it's easily accessible. And it is a long process, but it's a process where I feel is very necessary because I want to hear from the public and I want to hear from them before we make the changes. And I've heard from a lot of people in our residential districts that they like, in the 2 districts that do not allow livestock. This doesn't mean that they don't allow gardens and growing of your food or whatever. It's just farm livestock, that they want it to be kept that way. They are on an acre or less. When we only have 20,000 square feet, it's, you know, it's hard to have animals next door.
Any other questions? Senator Brewer. I think it's on.
Thank you for testifying. I was supervisor for 28 years for zoning in my township last year. But could they, on an acre, 43,500 square feet, put 5 hives, 10 hives, 20 hives, bees to make a living on that? Could they?
Could they by zoning?
Well, could they by just living in a residential area, wanted to have honey, sell some of the honey? Could they do it on that 1 acre?
On some 1 acre parcels, yes. In the RR zone, we have 1 acre parcels that are obviously, if there was to create a new RR zone, they're a minimum of 2 acres now, but some of them are 1 acres. And yes, we have several parcels that they could accommodate on because they're not clustered into that subdivision with all the homes all around them. It's, but yes, they could. There's areas in the township that could.
So, if I moved into a residential area for 1 acre, is zoned out bees? I mean, if I wanted to sell 40 rabbits a year, could I do that there?
In some of the residential zones, yes. Yes, you could. But there are areas that, that they are less 1 acre. They're 40,000 square feet or less. That's what it's not quite an acre. But, yeah, those zones, the R1 and the R1S, high-density, single-family zones, no, that we do not allow that in the defined uses. But in the RR zone, which is 1 acre and above, yes, those are allowed.
And they'd be protected under
They would be protected under the
right to farm.
right to farm as long as they follow GAAMPs.
As long as they moved into, they know that they had to move into a residential area with more than 1 acre.
Well, it's really the zone. I want to tell you that. It's really the zone, because we have some non-conforming lots, that might be 1.2 acres that are in that R1S or R1 zone. We wouldn't create them any longer, but they were created 50 years ago. But it's the zone. And we have thousands of acres in those zones. I live in a residential zone myself, and I know that I can have CAFO next door to me. I mean, I grew up on a hog farm, so I'm aware that I don't really want one next door to me anymore. I didn't understand how much it smelled until I came home from college. It was...
Well, I don't think the issue is in all the big areas where you have lots of houses.
Right.
I think the issue seems to be that you couldn't have bees, in certain areas. But an acre is 43,000 square feet.
And I agree with you, but we're not talking about, generally, we're not talking about the acre lots. We're talking about the 40,000 square foot lot or the 20,000 square foot lot. That's what we're talking about here, not any, that we have a very small area for that. They are higher priced, but that's how they want to live. I don't, personally don't want to live in a subdivision, but some people do.
Yes, Senator Ryan. Yeah, the final question is, thank you for that answer. If I have 10 dogs in that same acre or less, can I have those?
No, it would not be
You have a
allowed.
zoning number?
Yes.
You could have.
Right.
Enforced
Right,
5 dogs or something.
right, correct.
I have one follow-up. How do you respond to a constituent that says, I want to raise rabbits, let's say 3 rabbits, even though the zoning doesn't even allow me to own 1, and sell a dozen rabbits a year, but my neighbor can have, I assume, 3 or 5 dogs, maybe the maximum number. They can have puppies. My neighbor's dogs. My neighbor can sell a dozen puppies a year, but I can't sell a quiet dozen rabbits a year. How do you respond to that?
I respond to that as, right now, no, the zoning doesn't allow you to do that. And maybe we need to look at our zoning again, but when we first did this, we were advised by the Ag Department to make it very clean, no livestock or livestock. And I would respond to her or him into, come in, let's talk. We can do a zoning text amendment. We can, but this would be, we would have to hold public hearings. All your neighbors would have to be notified. We could put it as a text amendment for a special use. There are avenues to go to, and I have brought this forward to people when they have come in. There are avenues that we can go to, but there are steps that they have to take, and also there's a lot of notification that that's given to all of their neighbors and to the entire township, so everyone gets to weigh in on that.
Do you think it's overkill for someone to raise a few rabbits?
I don't think it's overkill for someone to raise a few rabbits because of the fact of, unfortunately, you have to zone for a multitude instead of just, you can't zone each particular parcel.
Let me ask you one more follow-up question. So if I looked at your zoning, and I had a similar situation with our own family farm in Handy Township in Fulham, the zoning administrator claimed that we were out of ordinance because we were using the different species camels, to be frank. And I went to the zoning ordinance and took a look at the species that were allowed. It didn't include his daughter's rabbits, my zoning administrator's daughter's rabbits. It didn't include goldfish or the neighbor's canary. Is it your belief that the species that are allowed to be raised and acceptable have to be listed in your zoning ordinance?
No,
Okay.
we don't do that.
Okay, fair enough. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Next up, we have Mike Cunningham, my constituent.